Yeah.
They won't get 3 picks in a row, but 3 picks very close to each other. And I personally want to thank Carson Wentz for making that possible. That he worked out.
The Eagles fans too.
You got it on Birds 365 here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel. We appreciate your hopping aboard with us. And while you're at it, why don't you hit that like button? Like, subscribe. We're here for you each and every single day. John McMullen and Jody McDonald. And it is playoff week, so you want to be here with us each and every single week. Do us a favor. Give us a help with our algorithm. Yeah, I don't know what that means, but I'm told to say it. So please do so. Hit that like button for us here on Birds 365. All right, J-Mac, another unfortunate fallout from Saturday's beatdown at the hands of the Cowboys was the fact that Tyree Jackson, who actually flashed a little bit, you knew he was going to be one of the guys who was going to get a chance to play. Dallas Goedert, not out of COVID protocol. Dick Rod gets his chance to play again for the Eagles. But Tyree Jackson did play, made a couple of catches, was targeted, but got hurt on a non-contact injury and just blew out his ACL. This guy has been under a little bit of a dark cloud this year. Flashes in camp, gets everybody, including yours truly, because my buddy John McMullen is telling me how good he looks at practice and his opening eyes. So I started to get excited about him. Injury right before the season starts, so we don't get a chance to see him until well into the season. Sure enough, they trade Zach Ertz, and he gets his chance to step in. He's not as good a blocker, so he doesn't play as much as I would have liked. This was supposed to be his coming out party, and he actually got a touchdown. More power to him. But boom, now his season is done, and it even probably is going to carry into next season. What has this guy done wrong that he's had such injury problems, John, that it seems like his career is hanging under a dark cloud?
Well, I mean, this injury in training camp, I mean, that came on a play where he just skied. And remember, he is a 6'7" guy, and he just went up to catch a pass in the end zone, and he caught it, and he landed flat on his back. He had to extend so much, and he obviously had a small fracture in his back. So a lot of times it's just bad luck and torn ACL covering the punt. One of the bad punts, by the way. I think it was the 24-yard punt.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it is just, and that's why, this incessant, and that's what the Eagles were doing. Let's be honest. They wanted to avoid injuries to their key players, and certain guys had to play. And obviously, as the third string tight end, typically, Dallas Goedert and Jack Stoll were on the COVID list. They were two of the players. He had to play, and he got hurt, and that's unfortunate. Andre Dillard went down as well late in that game. We'll get some, hopefully, more clarification on that. I think there was one other, I can't remember, but I'll have to think about it. Somebody's got to play, and Tyree was one. And it's a bigger deal than people think because the Eagles have gone to such heavy 12 and 13 personnel, 2 tight ends and 3 tight ends, and he's right. With the 13, he was the third tight end. Now they'll just bring up Richard Rodgers, I would assume, from the practice squad, and as a veteran player, he'll be fine. He can handle the role, and arguably would be even better, to be honest, at this stage. But it's never fun, especially with a developmental project. Remember, here's a guy who was a quarterback in college, a quarterback trying to make the Buffalo Bills as well, went to the University of Buffalo, and then shipped to tight end. I mean, he needs the offseason. He needs to develop and continue to transition positions. And he's going to be out 9 months now. So, do the math. He's not going to have much of an offseason. And that's going to affect him moving forward.
And Jack Stoll will be the guy when they go 2 tight ends because He's probably a better blocker at this stage than Tyree
Yeah,
is anyway. So
yeah, and he's typically so it's not like I said, he's the third tight end, but they've been using 13 personnel about 20% of the time over the last month. But they've been using it a lot before the Cowboys game, when they had Goddard and Stoll, and then they would bring Tyree in. And there's different ways you can do that. As I said, Richard Rodgers will most likely be the guy. Um, and you could even use, if you're just using it as a blocking formation, you could use it as a backup tackle, as that extra tight end. So there's a lot of ways you can do it. I don't think it's going to affect the Eagles that much. It's certainly going to affect Tyree Jackson, who again, he gets hurt, in January. 9 months of September, and that's when the season starts. So you have a developmental guy who the Eagles were very excited about that can't develop because he's going to have to spend the offseason rehabbing.
unfortunately, they've already tipped their hand with the tight end eligible Lane Johnson play. Did so during the regular season. How much bigger would that be if it happened in a playoff game against the Bucs this upcoming week? But I think they'll probably hold on to that one for a future game. Did want to mention, I know you ran out the fact that the Eagles draft picks are pretty much set. That, as a matter of fact, is it 17 and 18, the draft picks that they got for the Colts? I wrote it down.
15 and 16.
15, 16. And everyone else is a playoff team. So if the Eagles don't beat the Bucs on Saturday with their 9-8 record, they would be the first team in the non-playoff teams to come up in the draft. So there's a good chance, sorry, Eagle fans, and you can try and convince me otherwise between now and Friday, that the Eagles are going to draft number 15, number 16, and number 17. 3 consecutive picks in an NFL draft. We got to get our researchers working on this one. If that's ever happened before in the NFL draft, that one team has had 3 consecutive picks, there's a really good chance that that's exactly how it's going to play.
They'll be 15, 16, 19 because there's 18 teams out, 14 in. So it's right now, if they lose, it would be 15, 16,
Oh, it's 18. Right, you're right. I was thinking about it the other way around. So
yeah,
they won't get 3 picks in a row, but 3 picks very close to each other. And I personally want to thank Carson Wentz for making that possible.
The Eagles fans too. The Chargers, by the way, are 17. The Saints would be 18, and then Philadelphia, if they lose in the first round of the playoffs, they would end up with 19.
Gotcha.
So right now it's 15, it's 16 because of the Colts implosion. And by the way, Carson Wentz was that was 2020 level Carson Wentz. But you know what, Jody? They did not play well. I mean, they had a fourth of Jonathan Taylor, as people have talked about, as potential MVP. Quentin Nelson, one of the best, arguably the best offensive lineman. That Jags front really got after him. Michael Pittman had a chance to make a play on a good throw, failed to catch it in. Look, Carson was terrible, but too often people boil it down to just the quarterback. That whole team was terrible, and that was a frustrating performance. But certainly, it starts with the quarterback. I just don't understand the giddiness of certain Eagles fans. I mean, it's done. Turn the page. He helped you get your Super Bowl win, whether people want to acknowledge it or not.
That's fine. And is there a little piling on going on here in this town because of Carson Wentz? Yeah, probably a little bit. But I think you're downplaying the year that Carson had. Yeah, he was Carson 2020 in this particular game. He wasn't far from it for most of the season, as a matter of fact. He's got the best running back in the NFL standing behind him. That should make your life significantly easier as a quarterback. He's got arguably the best offensive line, not in his division, not in his conference, in all of football. I'll put their offensive line against any offensive line, including the very good one he played in front of here in Philadelphia last year and this year when they were a little bit healthier on the offensive line. But not really, because Sayamalo and Brooks have been out for so long that we forgot that they both missed basically the entire season. And the guys that the Eagles have plugged in have done such a good job. We almost forget that. But he had a good offensive line when he was here. So he didn't have the best wide receivers when he was here. I would say the Colts wide receivers right now are below average. Doyle's an okay tight end. Not great, but an okay tight end. He's got okay weapons on the outside. But he's got the best running back in the league and arguably the best offensive line in the league. And he was a mediocre quarterback with a big choke job at the end. That's a pretty bad season for Carson Wentz.
Yeah, well, I don't know. Compared to last year, I mean, he's an average quarterback.
Could he actually be worse than he was last year?
No, he was improved from last season. That looked like a 2020 Carson Wentz game that in the biggest spot. So he was improved, but I think now you see, look, the guy has never been the same since the 2017 injury. He's never been the same player. And different injuries affect, that's one of the reasons, because I saw it with Carson up close. You remember way back, Jody, when we were talking about, projections, and I was concerned about Joe Burrow because he was coming off a similar injury. And Joe hasn't struggled at all. He's been great.
I remember who that was. And I like him. You like him. We had him on the show. We haven't had him back on since. We should try again. It was Mike Tannenbaum who came on Birds 365 and said, yeah, keep an eye on Joe Burrow this year. Because when those quarterbacks have those lower body injuries and it affects their ability to move in the pocket, make plays outside, that was a pretty devastating injury that Burrow had.
Yeah,
I'd keep a close eye on Burrow here because he could take a step back. Man, is he taking 4 steps forward? And Mike didn't say, I'm predicting failure for Joe Burrow the rest of his career. He didn't say that, but he said, keep a close eye on him.
Well, he was right, because what I went, and Mike kind of echoed my view, because you can go back to RG3. People forget how good Robert Griffin was his rookie season. And then he tore his ACL and LCL in the playoffs. And, he was just phenomenal. He was never the same guy. Now, he was a more, obviously, movement-based quarterback. Carson Wentz as well. A lot of movement to his game. I think Joe is more of a pocket guy, so maybe that helps him. But I was concerned about it because I saw it with RG3. I saw it with Carson Wentz. And Joe Burrow's been able to overcome it. And good for him. He's never been the same guy. And he looked like he was going to be an elite player here before the injury. He was an elite player. He was arguably on his way to winning the MVP award. And then after it, he was never the same. Now, the weirdest part to me, though, he still was okay in 2018 when he came back in 2019. But then he just fell off a cliff in 2020. So that part I can't necessarily understand. But look, it worked out in the short term. It got the Eagles a Super Bowl championship. It didn't work out as long as people had hoped. And now, you've turned the page. And again, we'll go back to Howie Roseman. So Howie Roseman got a first and a third round pick for a declining player that's not very good at the quarterback position. Oh, by the way, first Black Monday coming across. Mike Zimmer out. Rick Spielman out. The guys who got the guys who got Justin Jefferson out. There's more to it than one pick on one particular day. Howie Roseman's good at his job. I'm sorry, people.
And you're right about Howie getting a 1 and a 3. Now, I'll give Howie some credit, but he doesn't get complete credit because let's be honest, Carson Wentz forced his way out of town. It wasn't like Howie Roseman looked into his football
but that makes it harder
and said, oh my, we need to move away from Carson Wentz because he's never going to be Carson Wentz 2017 again. So let us make the best deal that we can and get on
Well,
with
there's
our
a lot.
No, Carson Wentz said, I don't want any part of being in Philadelphia anymore. Get my ass out of here.
I agree with you. But it's funny, and I'm not picking on you because I hear it more than I think you're more in my category, probably not as high as me, but you acknowledge that Howie's certainly good at least certain part of his job. It's funny. It's funny how context is added to the good decisions, but not the bad decisions. Like DK Metcalf. I don't know how many times I can tell people he was red flagged by the Eagles medical department. He was not in the conversation. He was taken off the table till day 3 of the NFL draft. And then they might have considered him. Who knows? Doesn't matter. They didn't pick him. Howie didn't pick him. No context. Doesn't matter. You know, when he does something right, then all the context comes flowing in. You're right. Everything you said is right. And by the way, it starts with Jeffrey Lurie. Jeffrey Lurie's the one who's got to stamp, oh, it's going to be the largest dead money cap hit in NFL history by a wide margin. That's some big context, Jody. I admit that. All of that enters into the equation. Bottom line is Howie Roseman runs football operations for the Eagles. He gets blamed for the bad stuff, but he doesn't get the credit for the good stuff. That doesn't make sense to me. If you're going to blame him for the bad stuff without context, put a check mark in the column with the good stuff, and you don't need all that context. That's all I'm saying.
You are correct. He should get credit for what he does right. And getting a 3rd-round pick, which, oh, by the way, let us not forget, they had to use the flip to get Jalen Hurts, to get Devonta Smith. So that aspect of it, it was part of the pie to be able to get up and get your lone actual NFL wide receiver. And now they've got a 1st-round pick instead of a 2nd-round pick because Carson Wentz stayed healthy enough all year. Yeah, it was a heck of a trade by Howie Roseman. After he got thrown up against the wall by Carson Wentz, he did a pretty good job punching his way out of the corner and getting a damn good return for Carson. All right, he is John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. Coming up next, our buddy Chris Franklin from NJ.com, scheduled to jump aboard Birds 3.